Code. There we are. Now everything that you say is going to be saved somewhere. And yeah, eventually, if I wanted to have a quick chat about this as well, Mo was putting these up on his YouTube channel, and he wasn't sure that they were different from our SE office hours, which are kind of like an official Cribl thing. But I wanted him to check in with y'all about whether that's something you wanted done with the user group meeting recordings as well. And you can work that out with him or do your own thing. It is totally up to you. But I can make the recordings available to you and you can put them wherever you like.
Yep.
And that was not meant to be rude. Okay.
Yeah, and that might be a good topic to discuss with Tony here, because I'm sure that's something that he went through with Splunk. So yeah, I'm apparently in charge, so let's do this thing.
All right.
I'm Eugene Katz, as my thing somewhere probably says. I can say for now that I run the only Cribl user group. Because I said, why isn't there one? And now there is. So, and also the Boston Splunk user group as well. So today we have a couple of items, starting with Cribl error logging project, real quick thing from Brandon, as Rachel was saying, and then the Tony Reinke about Splunk BSides and all that good community stuff, which I won't get too far into because he can. All right, take it with Brandon.
All right, thanks, Eugene. Hello, for those who don't know me, I'm Brandon McCombs. You've probably seen me quite often in the community, answering questions and helping where I can. And one of the support engineers for the Cribl products. And one of the projects I was working on for my own benefit was to document some errors that I had seen and just make it easier to, whenever I would see them again, I would know what the cause would be, especially TLS errors. I'm sure we've all seen lots of very cryptic, no pun intended, TLS errors and don't know what the issue would be. And I thought it would be a good idea to document that in some way, along with some other product related errors. So it got to a point where it was useful to start maybe publishing these somewhere else for others to benefit from. And it even blossomed from being specific to Logstream to basically third-party packages, third-party products, TLS with OpenSSL, Node.js type of errors, and anything we may see from the third-party libraries we use for interacting with AWS and Azure and all those types of services. So we have published an initial set of messages on the docs page already. If you haven't seen that page yet, it is there underneath the troubleshooting section, I believe. And we would want to basically expand that to the community as well for input. And so the intent is to let people submit the errors they see, and it could be warnings as well that you may want to have resolved, and submit those to that channel. And the SEs and the other folks in the field would be able to provide input, maybe even provide answers and say, hey, this is the cause of that, if they are familiar with what the issue could be. And then once we have that information, we may be seeing some patterns to those error messages to say, hey, we may need to document this. This is happening enough that we could call it a common type of issue and publish it, and then on the official doc page, the official doc site for the product. And that way it's just at the very least another location for people to search against when they're already looking at other documentation for the product. But the channel itself would also serve to provide a way for the community to help themselves, help each other. And so if somebody has provided an error message that they've seen, but they don't know the cause, we could try to provide the cause ourselves internally. But if somebody in the community is aware of what the cause would be, in fact, I just saw a little bit ago where somebody had ran into an issue with the SE Linux causing a problem. And so those types of things would be ideal for that channel to document those. And like I said, we may not have everything that is taken from that channel put into the official documentation, but again, we look for the high frequency types of issues. So in my mind, it turns into a combination of an FAQ and a KB type system where we are taking the frequently encountered errors and warnings and putting those into a formal doc page for at least right now would be the final location for those. Maybe once we have a community forum type of setup, they may get migrated to that as well. But that's the plan for now.
Yeah, some of you may remember when we tried to get this going at Splunk back when I was involved in the docs team, and it was already too late by then to get that stuff documented. It was just such a huge undertaking. So I'm really glad that the support team is trying to get this going now at early, it's pretty early days. So yeah, the channel is hashtag error-log on the community Slack. Literally just, we've got a little bit of a pin thing here explaining the format's very simple. Provide the string, the exact string, like copy paste it if you can. If you have any context around it, provide that. And then if you have any information about how it was worked around, that would be also useful. But any one of those things, probably just the first thing, is a super important and helpful thing to add. So try not to have a lot of discussion in there, except in threads underneath each of the errors, so that we can easily look back and find things. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having that resource available, not just to support and to SEs and stuff, but to all of us as we try to figure out, what third-party thing is screwing with my log stream, or, how can I work around this problem in the moment? So yeah, thank you very much, Brendan. This is a great idea, and I look forward to populating that content. Does anybody have any questions for Brandon about this? Cool. Anything else you want to say? And I see Mick's here. Do you have any from high proclamations to make?
Oh, from high. Yeah, no, I want to echo your comments there. This is something that we struggled with at Splunk for years. And we could never even get from developers, hey, give us a list of error messages that are actually in the code, and we'll work through them with you and find out explanations for them. So yeah, this is going to be an ongoing thing. We're adding more debug messaging to more of the processors and services as we go. Every new version brings new messaging. So we want to be able to explain it. We want to make it easy to find, and we want to make them easily understandable as well. So if there's things in there that don't make sense, flag them, and we'll get the Jira tickets in for the dev team to change them.
Very cool.
And on a similar thread, if there are things that are not documented, if there are things that are not easily findable in the documentation, we want to flag those issues too. Not everything needs to be a support case. Not everything. There should be more enablement material up front. Let's say there should be more pointers to, hey, look at all these resources over here. So whatever we can do to enable you guys to be more independent and yeah, solve your own problems. That's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, there's lots of, we have version 2.4.5 out right now. Product's been around for over a couple of years now, and there's obviously lots of messages in the code that we have built in by virtue of the developers, and I've been trying to document the more important ones of those, and that's where it started. And then I realized, well, the third-party libraries and services have their own error messages that they're going to be spitting out that we need to track as well. So like Mick said, every version we have new messages that could be added in there that need some explanation. Not too long ago, a few versions ago, we had some additional messages that ended up being added in, and they were just way too chatty, and they got ripped out or had their log level changed within just a version or two. So I tried to document that information as well on that page to say, hey, these may only be there for a couple of versions. So if you see them, it's for this reason, and you may not see them again. So those types of annotations are made as well if we know about them.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And yeah, join that channel if you got stuff to drop on us, go for it. Okay, next up.
Did you say that Nick was gonna mention a little quick something before?
I don't know. I know
jump in?
Nick's here, but like I said, I was in a meeting with him this morning where he had like literally everything assigned to him. So
I
I'm
mean
not
the
sure.
Gallup, the Gallup thing.
Oh, sure. Actually, if there's time right now, I was thinking Nick would, the other Nick, sorry, there's too many
Oh.
Nicks. Classic issue. Because we have Nick Tank and Nick H. Go ahead, Nick H.
Yeah,
What do you got for us?
it's always weird when I have to email one of the other Nicks because you start an email and you end it with your own name. It's very strange. So one thing I'm going to post in the chat is if you haven't had a chance to give us a review, give Logstream a review on Gartner's Peer Insights, I'd really appreciate it. I think we all would. This takes about 10 to 12 minutes. You can pick which incentive you want. You can either pick a $25 gift card, and that will show up in your local currency if you're not in the US, or you can choose to make a charitable donation. There's quite a list of organizations that you can pick. And I think there's another option as well that you can choose during the process to get 30 days of free Gartner research access, which can be useful for you as well. Peer Insights is kind of cool because it's free. You don't need to be a Gartner subscriber to use it. You can just go and search and you can do comparisons and download that data. So it can be a really useful resource. And then for us, we really want you to get those reviews in so that we can hopefully get included in some research that the company produces. And this is also really good social capital for us as well. So if you don't mind, if you've got a couple minutes, use your corporate email address and spend 10 to 12 minutes talking about your favorite observability pipeline. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me in the chat, and I'm also in the community as well. Thanks.
And Nick H and I have a bet going on which ones people are gonna pick, the gift card or the charitable donation. So I'm not gonna tell you who is who, but
There's big money on it though. There's
big money, yeah.
Big money.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry for the confusion there.
All right, I think we are good then. So Tony, without further ado, if you are
Everybody relocated on the screen.
Hey, Tony.
oh, sorry,
Tony,
there
nice
we go. There you
background.
are.
And that is my version 2 or 3 due to events of, I got to talk to marketing and copyright brand. So,
Mhm. Yay.
yeah, it's fun. It's all right though. It's good. I got to meet new people at Splunk that I didn't know about. But yeah, so I'm Tony. I run the Nebraska user group and co-run the Iowa user group for Splunk. And then along with Rich and Clara run BSides Splunk, which is an official BSides chapter mostly. Since we're not a location, we don't have a home. So we're just kind of in the internets, and we're the only group that's been allowed to use the BSides name this way, since it's an application based. It's not indifferent to different companies, but we allow anybody from any company to talk. And we didn't just have talks on Splunk products this year. Rich actually gave a talk on Logstream. So we're open to having lots of people talk, lots of different ideas and ways to do things. Because obviously know a lot of the Cribl team from back in the day, so it's always fun, and like to support good companies. But the question always that we get is why? Where did BSides come from? What's the need of BSides? Because Splunk puts on that huge conference every year. Thousands of people come, and everybody has a good time, and the bartenders love us. But why did the need come for BSides? Well, go back a few years ago, and we were deeply missing our community leader, and some of the marketing people were really pushing heavily marketing slides and presentations, and some of those of us that were highly technical that went to .conf for basically the hallway con is really what we called it. We'd all just kind of hang out, help each other, get to know each other, maybe play some Team Fortress 2 while we're solving issues, having a lot of fun. Well, we found people like Martin. Their talks were getting rejected for conf. They said it's not a wide enough audience, it's too technical. And being the Splunk people that we said, yeah, we'll do it ourselves. And so we kind of joked in chat about just taking over a corner of the conference and just putting on our own conference. And there's, famous slogan with Bender from Futurama, we'll do it with, and finish his phrase. But and more people, we got talking about it, and more people actually started asking Rich and I and Clara, like, are you guys actually going to do this? We're like, why not? Let's do it. And so we said, yeah, that's fine. Whoever got rejected, send us your talk. We're going to find a way to do this. So the first year we start planning about it, and all of a sudden we get like a bunch of people actually saying, yes, we want to be involved. And we're like, oh, this is actually a thing now. So we talking to some Splunk people, they're like, well, we can't actually have you officially be part of Conf. It's just, you're not. And, so we can't officially give you anything, but there may be this end cap with a TV on it that you guys could maybe take over and squat on. So we did that, and we got there, and we gave a bunch of great talks. We had, I spoke on a topic that I was passionate about. The speed limit on our street is 25 miles an hour. It felt to me like it was like people are going faster than 25 miles an hour, but I didn't have empirical evidence. So I found some software that would let me interface into my network camera that was pointed to the street on the street, and I could actually say point A, point B, here's the distance, do the math, ship it to Splunk. And then I had statistics of, at this time in this direction, the average is this speed, here's the variance, all the fun goodness that comes along with statistics. And then I started sending it to our local law enforcement. So quickly, the Twitter bot that I set up was spamming the local law enforcement, and that caught the attention of a few people and got a news story, and Twitter shut down my bot. And but it got me to actually talk with the sergeant that was in charge of traffic enforcement for the entire city. And it actually led to a great discussion, and he got to actually see that, statistics, and, I wasn't just saying, oh, they're speeding all the time, the kids, think of the kids. It was 7:15 to 7:30. There's an average this many cars, this direction, traveling this much over the speed limit. So they could actually send an officer, and just the presence actually caused a drop in speed. And again, we had the correlation to go with that. Now, we have talks like that. Then we also had Martin doing a Turing machine with Splunk. We had Rich's daughter doing a regex talk. I mean, it was just variety, super technical, super nerdy. So we come back for 2019, and the call for papers went out for Splunk, and right away, as soon as the call for papers opened, people started sending us notes of, hey, are you guys going to do this again? If my talk gets rejected, can I come to you guys? And we're like, well, okay, yeah, I guess we'll do a round two. And so we started putting it together, and it started getting more and more traction to where we actually got space in the community lounge to set up our shop, full TV speakers that people actually could hear it. We could record it correctly. It was a wonderful time. Doug actually even gave us a shout out during the keynote talking about it. And where we were situated was great for visibility. We were next to the community lounge, and on the other side of us was the big data bus where they were splunking everything in their RV on their cross country trip. So tons of foot traffic. So we started having more and more people just stop by and talk to us, which then led us to, we've always been part of Conf. Well, we all know with this pandemic, we don't want to sit on Zoom for 5 days straight for 12 hours a day, and then maybe do 2 or 3 hours more at night, or tack on 2 more days the next week, or try to go over the weekend. It was just too much. Everybody's mental sanity, we didn't want to do that to them. So we said, well, what do we do to do BSides again? So we actually flipped it and said, there's this big lull every year waiting for Conf. So let's actually go ahead and flip it on the calendar and do it on the opposite side of Conf. So it just happens to be May the 4th is directly opposite of Conf. Couldn't have been any better for timing wise. We also had the call for papers on Pi Day closing. So it was all sorts of nerdy, but a lot of fun. We had a lot of great talks, wide variety of speakers throughout the world. So, working with people in different time zones and different languages to all come together was a ton of fun. I am just starting to get some sleep now, but it was great.
Fantastic. There was some evening entertainment stuff too, right?
Yes, we were able to get a nerdcore hip hop rapper named Beefy to come in. He hails from the Pacific Northwest, Rachel. He's it was a lot of fun. It's really lighthearted. He raps on gaming. He even had a song about Among Us. It was a lot of fun. And then we closed out the session with Splunk's Dungeons and Data Monsters, which is a D&D based game on, is it 5e? Okay, yeah. Which we had a special appearance by Pie Bob.
It was a good time, definitely.
So it was a lot of fun, and again, having fun, being nerdy, and just getting to hang out with people that you may have only seen on the keyboard that you actually can see in real life.
So did you and Rich have some top talks that you wanted to highlight or anything like that?
The one that I really liked, and again, goes back to being really nerdy, Ryan Woods with GuidePoint did a deep talk on what's in my data, field analysis, where he broke it down and went to the nth level on being able to pull the fields and the data out of your searches and really understand what's going on in your search. How about you, Rich?
That was amazing too. I always like Carrie's talk on regex. I always learn something new every time I watch that. And I think the other one I was really enjoying was Ari's talk on make results and basically generating your own set of data. Because I do that all the time, and yet I still learned quite a few really cool things out of it.
And then you also had the guys from Hurricane Labs, Tom Kopchak and Josh Neubacher. They took simulated hydroelectric power plant data and did almost like a boss of the sock type of event on a hack that happened on a theoretical hydroelectric power plant. And then, you can't go wrong with Tom West. He did 2 talks this year. And, it was pretty funny, him talking about all the data that he's getting from automating his house. So turning his light from yellow to green and just turning things on, and the thermostat. And, I know some of us play with it, and he has definitely gone overboard. He has a Raspberry Pi cluster to run all his IoT.
And I knew you were hoping to post the recordings this past weekend, but since you said you're only just catching up on your sleep, has that happened yet?
Not yet. I forgot that I had to do a video for my son's soccer team, his high school soccer team, the end of the year video, which this side. The banquet's tonight, and I finished the render about 20 minutes ago.
Congrats. So you can get right on to the next task after that.
We did have all the sessions pre-recorded, so it's literally slapping the the video in front, the video in back, making sure. I saw a few things when we went live that I just want to cut out a little bit, and then all the metadata. We've created a GitHub repository for all the PowerPoints and the extra data, any SPL apps or data generated in a tarball that can be up there and people can download.
Cool. Well, when that is ready, please do slap the links into our user group channel. I think you're in there, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're in any user group thing possible at this point. I remember back in the day when you were like, this is going to be so hard to get my user group started. And look at you now.
We started with 2 people, myself and another person attending the meeting with the Splunk employee. And that was let's see, 2013. I had to look. I have medal up there for 5-year in 2018, so I just had to do the quick math. But
Nice.
and it's a lot of fun. We've taken a lot of what you said, Rachel, of keep the core together and don't worry about how many actually come and go. We've had talks, that had 75 people that came and attended one of our user groups, and then we had probably for one customer user group that had 3 people, but he had actually just got his license that day, and he drove 2 hours to the meeting and thinking he was going to get this great talk. And there was 3 of us. So I said, what do you guys want to do? And he goes, well, I don't know. I just got my license. I'm like, you got a VPN? He's like, yeah. Like, let's set it up. So
Nice.
for the next 2 hours,
Free PS, basically.
Exactly. That's what he got. It was free PS because there's myself, a couple of Splunk engineers, and a couple other customers, and we just sat. But I mean, that's the whole idea of community, giving back and enjoying each other.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about happened at BSides or?
Not that I can think of. Anything else, Rich, that I'm missing?
No, I think you covered everything, all the interesting stuff.
Anybody
I
have
had
questions?
I had a question. We were talking about this with Rachel and some people about how the Splunk user community experience YouTube is channel or brand, I think they call them, is set up. If you can talk a little bit about that, especially since the Cribl videos recordings are coming about, and I think it might be a really good model.
Yeah, so we set it up, and we didn't have, my user group didn't have a way to really share the videos. We were adopting the virtual before pandemic, so I knew not everybody could attend our meetings. We had them over lunch to even try to be nice, we're time wise for people, but I knew people couldn't get there, and there was people that I wanted to interact with around the world and attend our user group, so we started streaming them, and then I would just put them on YouTube. So I've allowed other user group admins to add to the channel. So they don't have to send it to me. They'll have permission to upload themselves. But we actually got the branding after, I don't remember what the mark was, but you had to have a certain number of users that were subscribed to you, and then you could have a custom channel. And,
Okay.
it may be.
How do you work with Splunk marketing on this? Is that a thing that is did they engage with you on that? Oh, they don't know. Okay, never mind. Forget I said anything. I just assumed that if you use the Splunk brand that they actually were involved
I'm sure they
somehow.
know. But like on the splunkcommunity.com website, I have it. It's a not official site.
Okay.
I have language on there to say this is not owned by Splunk. This is community run.
Okay. Yeah, my main concern, and I don't know if the rest of you heard this, but is that I wanted to make sure y'all were comfortable with having the videos of your discussions here out in the open, and it's totally up to your group and what Eugene wants to do with the group. So whatever you choose to do, I'm supportive.
And there are groups that they don't feel comfortable recording or sharing, and that's perfectly fine. I make sure the disclaimers out there of we are recording. If you don't want to say something on camera, when we end the meeting, there's always time afterwards for networking. You can ask the question then, or pass me a note, send me a Slack message, whatever. I'll ask it for you on your behalf, and we can go that way.
Yeah, I totally want people to be comfortable asking any question, talking about any topic related to log stream and so on. Anyway, thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good way of doing it, is saying, okay, after the recording is over, there will be time if needed. But my assumption has been, we're saying that we're going to be recording for people present. Zoom is saying that it's recording. So putting it out on YouTube isn't something that I don't think people would be surprised by. But we have some people here that attend the new user group. So speak up, what are everybody's thoughts in terms of posting?
Don't all shout at once. Anybody actually care? Am I overthinking this?
People are unmuting. Give them a chance.
As you've mentioned, I don't think it's an issue from my point of view at all to share it on YouTube, because we are all grown-up adults. If you really mind, I just shut up. It's not that hard.
All right, I'm gonna take that clip and put it at the beginning of each one. If you really mind it, just shut up.
Sure.
Sounds
Sure, go ahead.
That sounds so friendly. So friendly. Awesome. Hey.
I will say, I would like, I do plan, by the way, Eugene, if we have time to show some 3.0 stuff. So some previous stuff. Yeah. So that I would like to not put on YouTube, potentially, right? Depending on when we put it out on YouTube. Yeah, we can always stop recording for that kind of stuff, but we'll just flag that in the agenda. And so, you know, I think that's the way to go.
that makes a lot of sense as well. So good point. We can do the demo after the recording stops. Or, well, there's still two levels of the recording, so that people in the Cribl user group are going to get the link to the Zoom recording, and then the cutting it up before putting it on YouTube.
Are you volunteering to cut out that part if we do record it? Or I can pause the recording and we will not have one at all. It's up to you. I'm asking Eugene, did you want to cut that out?
I can cut things out on YouTube.
Okay.
I've done before.
Right. How do you feel about that, Nick?
Yeah, it's fine. I just think, I think we should just allow ourselves that spot of like, if we want to talk about something that we don't want to go up on YouTube, you know, we had to say like, okay, that'll come at the end and then we can cut it out. So works
Cool.
for me.
All right, so I'll leave it recording, but if you post it to YouTube, Eugene, you're going to cut this out.
Okay.
Awesome. Just wanted to make it very clear.
So, and just to check with Tony again. So you're saying before we can have a brand that others can post as, need to have a certain number of followers.
Well, to get because like right now it's YouTube/C/SPLUCX instead of blah 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 blah, that 12-digit whatever
Big number, yeah.
GUID. That's what gave it to me. I actually just for the account, it's just signed up with the email address of what I have for the domain, and then just went in and said this is a brand based, and then got the followers, got the cool name, and then I could then at that point give access to other people to the channel.
But the followers were only needed for the cool name. You could give access. Like if we start meeting in person and we're gonna start having separate user groups, there isn't something we need to do other than be able to give. Okay, so I can work on setting up a brand and
not to my knowledge.
Let's talk about it.
But it's been a few years since I've done that, so the rules have probably changed.
Yeah, I think it's still 100 followers before you can get the URL that's nice and clean. But yeah, let's talk about what you want to do, because I want to make it possible for multiple groups to feed into your group, right? That's what you want to do.
Definitely.
All right, cool.
And make sure to share the link so I can send it out too.
All right.
100 shouldn't be an issue. You've announced a milestone just recently in Cribl.
Yeah, just as long as every single employee signs up, I think we're set. I'll make it a requirement for next quarter's goals or something. Check this box.
Let me check, Nick. What are you thinking in terms of duration of the demo, just to leave time for the raffle and any questions that are user group questions?
So I'm not gonna. It's just gonna be a preview. Like I would not expect this to be like, hey, here's the end-to-end demo. I'm gonna walk you through some stuff. So I mean, 5 to 10 minutes. So, this is really a sneak preview of the 3.0, and I will probably also talk about cloud a little bit. But we have a lot of material we're working up, and there will be a big launch and all sorts of stuff in the next, in the next couple of weeks. So we'll just this is a sneak peek.
All right, you want to take 5 minutes and do the raffle now, so that
I'm thinking raffle, and while we're doing that, if people can think of questions they want to ask fellow users of Cribl, because I know I have at least one. But yes, let's figure out the raffle. Let me get my dice.
It's t-shirts and coffee cups today.
All right.
And I no longer have to ask someone else to send these things out. There's now some functionality. Oh, can almost see. Nice dice enclosure there.
Yes.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people.
9 people. So
9
then
non-Cribl people.
Cribl people get their own
Yeah,
swag
you
separately.
get your swag sent to you, so I'm not including you in this crap.
All right. Excellent. And you have the numbers figured out?
I have them figured out.
All right, so we'll just go 1 through 9. Zeros will get re-rolled. I can see it's a 6.
6. It is John Lim.
All right.
Woo! So John Lim, DM me on Slack with your address and phone number, and I will send you a package.
Wow, super lucky. Thank you, Richard.
Woo!
All right.
And we got
next
2
up,
more.
4.
Derek.
There.
I don't know, Derek, if you're there, same rules apply. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Woohoo! One more.
And last, 8.
It's Tony. Hey.
Woohoo!
All right, dude. DM me. I will send you some swag. Nice. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thanks, everyone. All right. And now we can move on to Nick. And
Well,
oh, you have something else?
I still have, well, I have my questions, but I want to give people a chance to ask questions. Could be a type of question that gets asked at the office hours, the engineering office hours, but I figure maybe others have dealt with it. So I'll jump in, and then if others have questions afterwards, then they can ask. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, as many probably have done, replace the syslog servers with Cribl. The thing we realized is we want to write full logs to S3, or not S3, it's on-prem S3. And we realized that persistent queues are not supported by the S3 destination. So I don't know if others have done on the call have done replacement of syslog, and I'm sure a lot of Cribl employees are biting their tongues with suggestions, which I will be happy to hear as well. Because the only thing I can think of right now, and for those who haven't come up against this issue, so right, if network devices are sending in syslog data and we're trying to send it to S3 as well as Splunk and other places, but S3 is for whatever reason unreachable, we don't want to lose data. And we do have, I think, Mo, who is not on the call, checking for us if the staging directory would just keep saving data until it gets sent through, or do we need to send up something different, which I have an idea, but I want to hear if other people have thoughts first. Look like Steve is unmuted and giving.
Yeah, I saw Steve like unmute, come on camera. Oh!
Yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking about, I mean, the staging directory should work. I happen to be working on demos right now, so I'll actually go fake that and break the S3 and see how long it holds everything for.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have real life. I tested it today actually, Steve, because I messed up my S3 locally, but I don't know how long it's gonna last.
Yeah.
So I cannot tell you how much you are able to buffer. It definitely does. It definitely will resend after S3 is available again. So that's proven just because I messed it up today,
right,
in my test environment. But for how long, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's really going to depend on how much free space you have in that, wherever that staging environment is, or that staging directory is. But I'll run that and see how much I can break it.
Okay. Yeah, related question was like, is there best practice or what people are doing for amount of space to allocate for persistent store to like how many days or hours or what you keep? I don't know if people have dealt with that.
I mean, I would typically look at it as, and this is just, my previous life,
how long do I ever expect anything to be down for, right? So, you know, do I have probabilities around how long Splunk might be down in my environment? It's kind of a crappy answer, but it's, you know. And then you can extrapolate, say, okay, it's about an hour. I know I'm doing about this much per hour. Let's extrapolate that out, give myself maybe double that just to, you know, to be safe. But disk space allocation is always a challenge.
So we had the same question from a customer, how to size persistent queuing. And it basically was similar to what Steve mentioned. It was like, what's your expected MTTR? How long does it take for you to repair? And then double that. Because most of the time, the expectations are wrong. So just put a safety caution on top of it.
You know, you used the term MTTR and you sounded so much smarter than I did. So nice job.
But with Splunk, you have negative MTTR. Never mind.
I guess that kind of leads to the question too: is have you guys thought of a fallback destination kind of thing in Logstream? So like if you have an S3 destination and that's not reachable, and you have something else you want to fall back to that's local or something besides persistent queue, which sounds like it's most appropriately like local disk, if you don't want to do that because you have that space constraint.
So I think the two kind of scenarios or the two requests that we've been playing around with most is like what we're going to put into priority for the next round of product investments is just add persistent queue to everything so that you know, everything more or less will have a persistent queue option. And then the next piece is some sort of action framework so that you can say shift a destination. Like if a destination goes down for X number of hours, or like, you know, it could even be like 10 minutes or immediately, just reroute all of that data to another destination, right? That's become a consistent ask, which is, you know, do we do an action for that? Do we add a setting to the destination? So you have a fallback, like we're not really quite sure which one we want to go. I think there's pros and cons to both, but these are like scenarios that have been coming up quite a bit. And we are playing around with ideas for how we're going to do that. Is there a preference here, like for setting that sort of somewhere, or is it a, you know, you can leave a destination up or you can have another destination. And if something happens, you run an action and that updates the route more or less and says, go to this next destination. Maybe even add something to routes like a fallback.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it as much.
Would you do it at the destination or at the route? Do you think?
Well, it actually relates to the last question that I had, was if you have persistent queues enabled in multiple destinations for the same data, you're going to be building those independently, aren't you? Yeah. So the convoluted thing I've started to have in my mind as a workaround to that, and as a workaround to not having persistent queue for S3 is, you know, the syslog data comes in to syslog, and the route, the output of that is TCP JSON with a persistent queue, and just sends it back to the same worker, like to localhost.
Oh, I see.
Which at that point is like, well, can you just wrap that in the thing for me? I can drop in and say, yes, put a persistent queue at the source effectively. Because that's what effectively it's doing, is putting persistent queue at the source.
Right.
That will block, if nothing else, is if there's a block signal coming back, right? Because not all the sources support block signals, but I don't know if TCP JSON, if Logstream supports its own, I haven't looked into that, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Yeah, because I was coming to the same point of like, yeah, we're talking about queuing the data at the source now more than anything.
Right, because rather than queuing the destination, effectively it's putting a layer to allow the block signal to be handled by Logstream at the source.
Yeah, I don't know. Good options. There's actually a lot. There's just so many, like every time we work through these things. Yeah, but I will say just better control over if something is happening or not happening the way it's expected, being able to shift the data and like automate that flow, that's a lot more of what I think we're making investments in. So, you know, if you need like persistent queuing as a source aside, like if you need to route data somewhere else based on a down destination or some kind of like even signal in the data, right? Like maybe there's some just event. We got this a couple of months ago, which is like if I have an event come in, take an action off of that event and then make a change to the destination.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting requirement. Yeah, but
What
under the
I'm
covers would be like
wondering
an action framework that, you know, this comes in, if this, then do this, and then it. You know,
Yeah, it kind of
connects
makes sense. Like if there's an incident identified, then start logging to something so it can be immediately investigated type of.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering about, I guess there will be right after you implement that feature, a follow-up question from any other customer like, okay, so now I've rerouted the event to another destination, so I'm safe on that side. Okay, now I fixed my issue, replay. So you pretty much get into this scenario of try to replay pretty much every destination, because I would ask that afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky if you start rerouting, you open another can of worms.
Well, and that's where I kind of keep coming back to the idea of, and I know the question started out with, hey, if S3 is gone, you know, I really like the pattern of archiving everything to S3. That is my persistent queue that I can go back.
That's actually been asked for a couple of times too, which is like make S3 an option for persistent queue, which is like, hey, you know what, instead of using a local storage, like write it to a network connected storage or write it to S3. And because the idea is like, if it goes down, like I can deal with the latency it's going to take to replay the data back out. That's fine, right? If I need it right now, buffer it, you know, in a persistent queue and send it out, or queue it close so you can get there quicker. But if you think something's going to go down for a long period of time, or you're shaky on the destination, then use something like that, which is cheaper and it just is more elastic than trying to maintain some sort of like storage ratio that you need to make sure that, you know, if something goes down, you'll have all your data.
I mean, the other thought on that front is also, if you're going to queue to, if you're going to use, if you're queuing to local storage, you could actually do that. And if you're doing it on-prem, right, you could actually do it to an NFS store where you might be able to allocate that data different, that space differently, right? So I mean, that's another option. Just getting around the issue of, okay, how much local disk am I going to have? How am I going to be able to, you know, how long am I going to be able to maintain? If you can make that a flexible volume in some way, shape, or form, that might be.
Yeah, cool.
Well, thanks. Others have other questions. We can dive a little bit into that, or we can see this for 3.0 demo, 3.0 demo.
You can. All right, let's see if I have it all ready to go. Give me 1 second. I was doing the stupidest thing, which is I was trying to add more to the preview right as we were talking rather than just letting it sit. I get so excited.